The challenge that we have is the structure of the Senate. And quite frankly, the structure of the Senate is the problem. It needs to be fixed. And it's one of the many things that has to be fixed because the actual process of the Senate requires 60 people to agree to actually vote on something. It's what you brought up earlier about the filibuster rules. As long as we have an agreement where only you have to have 60 people to even vote on something, we have this massive blockade, which quite frankly, we as Republicans, we used that to our advantage not long ago, shutting down things like a card check and union rules and all kinds of things. But now it's just the craziness of what we're facing with Planned Parenthood, something that's really obvious to the American people. We have 58 people to this, and we have to have 60 to be able to move it.
I'm wondering if the placement of this on the calendar, and this is what I heard of a lot as soon as Politico had broken the story that McConnell placed it on the calendar for tomorrow, that it's simply a symbolic vote. But I realize that you and other members of the Senate who are more on the conservative side, you don't see this as something simply symbolic.
This is absolutely not symbolic. For instance, today we voted on the pain-capable bill. That is a bill that deals with 20 weeks. If a child is 5 months in the womb, shouldn't that child still be able to go all the way to life?
Right.
Right now, the Democrats, they're blocking that one as well. But we think it's a pretty common sense issue. This is a viable child. I have a friend of mine that they delivered a little girl a year ago at 14 ounces. She's now 15 pounds, healthy girl. She's doing terrific on it. The Democrats would say they're not viable until we can see them. And so that may even be one of the challenges we put in front of them, because there's a bill that we have, Trent Franks has in the House, Ben Sass has in the Senate, that deals with the Born Alive Protection Act, that if a botched abortion happened to actually deliver the child, that child needs protection. Many of the Democrats would say even no, they wouldn't need protection at that point. So we've got to be able to push this argument out to the American people and to be able to keep it in front of people and to make sure that we actually win this. What is interesting is the vote today that happened on abortion, that is the first vote in the Senate to limit abortion in 12 years.
Wow.
So when we talk about progress happening, just getting it on the floor is progress. For Planned Parenthood, that was my bill. That was the first week of April that we did. That bill, we lost the vote by 5 votes. Lindsey Graham was out of town. He would have been the 55th vote on that one, but we lost it by 5 votes. That same bill, approximately pretty close to that same language on defunding Planned Parenthood, was done in 2011. That time we lost by 18 votes. So an enormous shift has occurred from 2011 to this last year that we're down by just 5. So we are making some real progress on this one, but the same reality still exists. We have children being killed.
Right. What happens if we come up on the shutdown argument that we have seen so often before, and we know how eager the media is, not just the media, but the administration, to pin this on Republicans? It's somehow that this funding for Planned Parenthood, it's necessary to go along with the day-to-day function, the budget of the functioning United States government. What's the plan then? I mean, are we going to see, because that's usually when we see some of the weaker members of the Senate break away and they go and hide and leave the conservatives there to get all the blame. What say you on this?
Yeah, that's the big challenge. What's funny about that is you bring up the defund and what's happening in government shutdown. We brought up again the defense appropriations bill, which is basic appropriations to actually fund the government. Democrats blocked that again. Probably no one in the media will even talk about that. But the real funding of the government's not a CR. The real funding is appropriations. They have continued to block the appropriations bills as they did again today. No one's going to even mention that. They'll talk about Republicans want to shut down the government because of Planned Parenthood. They won't even mention that Democrats want to shut down the government because they're blocking defense appropriation bills today.
And that was also they could get that shutdown narrative.
That's exactly right, because they love it. It's fun in the media for them. They love getting a chance to cover things like shutdowns, and they want to talk about it because it's good press for them and it brings a lot of people to them. But in reality, I don't hear Republicans that want to shut the government down. I hear Republicans that want to be able to fully fund the government, but we don't want children to be killed on our dime. I mean, that's not an unrealistic expectation.